All right. Hello, guys and gals. So, you beat the campaign. You did a good job. You did beat Act 1, you beat Act 2, you beat Act 3, you beat Act 4, you killed the interlude. You went back and you got all your buffs, like your 5% increased maximum life, and your plus 40 spirits, and your bonus doojanks that are all over the place, your 2 skill points, and whatnot. And you're now in the end game. What do you do in the end game? What is the purpose of the end game? How do you still have fun now that the campaign is finished? You may be like me, and you might think to yourself, well, the campaign was the most fun that I had in the game, and the end game is really not that great. Well, this season they've definitely done an overhaul on the end game, but hopefully by the end of this video, you'll have a better idea of how the end game works, and, well, what's to like about it. Now, one of the things that the developers said in their latest interview was that they said they wanted the endgame to feel like a continuation of the campaign. And to do so, they introduced several new quest lines that you can activate in the endgame, which lead to bosses that you're going to have to fight, and can help you and get really interesting stuff within the game. The first thing that you're going to notice is that on my tree, because I've already unlocked a lot of this stuff, is I have a lot of various areas. Like, for instance, I have the Withered Willow, which is acting with the Delirium quest line. The Delirium quest line does actually end in a very interesting boss fight. I want to say fun, but it's kind of scummy. Bodak with his floor degen. There's also the Monastery of the Keepers, which is part of the Breach quest line, which does, of course, end in a boss fight as well. But on top of that, also you have access to a very interesting mechanic in there, which is basically where you can generate items depending on specific modifiers that you can basically predetermine. It's called the Womb Tree. The Genesis tree. And the Genesis tree, utilizing specific points, can help you generate items that you couldn't otherwise get in the regular game. And this allows you to literally cause the womb tree to literally poop out items of specific types. Like, for instance, I have a banded womb tree right here, which is belts. I don't know if I have any hive blood right now, but we can give it a try. And boop, and I can make it poop out a belt. Just like that. I don't know how many of these I can poop out, but... Aha, 2 belts pooping. And this particular one, I believe we're looking for, like, specific minion modifiers, like plus skills. You can actually generate belts that you can't otherwise get in the regular game, which is really cool. Like you can see, I have minions have increased movement speed, minions have increased mobilization, and so forth and so on. There's definitely some very interesting modifiers that you can get on items that come from this Genesis tree. Things that you really can't get elsewhere in the game, which makes the Genesis tree a very interesting mechanic to interact with as you play towards the end game. Aside from the breach, of course, there's other mechanics. So there's also the expedition, which is new this season, renewed this season. They also have a quest line for you to follow, and it's pretty interesting. There's a lot of neat stuff you can do in the expedition stuff. You can get a lot of very interesting areas, like these ones that have like the little shuriken under them are basically like grand expeditions. You go through the process of putting bombs down and blowing up and trying to mine for stuff. There's the Abyss quest line, which is all around the undead, the Kulamak, the Almanamus and whatnot, and Kurgals, which essentially they're rising from the ground, and you kind of have to put them back. These are all stitched up now, but these used to be abyss fractures. They're green, like ravines, and as you fight the abyss and force them back, they close back up and kind of like healing the world. It's pretty neat. Then you also have the Vaal Temple, which is kind of like a make-your-own dungeon sort of a thing. It's not really my cup of tea, but it's there. There's a whole quest line, and you get to fight Atziri. Atziri's got faux boobies. She got faux titties. I have a statue of Atziri in my in my base, as you can see. As a 1, as a 2, as a 3, as a 4. She hoochie. She's the ones that started the whole thing with the beast anyway. You learn a lot of story in here as well, which is rather interesting. On top of that, we also have, of course, let's see, we got King's March, we got Delirium, we got The Kertarth. Kertarth is the ritual area. So ritual involves essentially a monster that is designed around like sacrifices and things that are sacrificed in the ritual altar empower them. There's a lot of really interesting mechanics that you can do in the ritual. There's a boss you can fight. There's also the Rite of the Nameless, which is really cool. In general, like all of these have not only really cool quest lines, but yeah, really cool boss fights. Now, you don't necessarily have to interact with every single one of these mechanics. In fact, I would suggest that you pick one and just do the one that you really like. You want to start the quest line for your mechanic of your choice before you really do anything else. So get that mechanic started and just start having fun with it. I personally, if you want some recommendations from me, Abyss is really good. Breach is really good, and Expedition is really good. I'm not much of a big fan of Delirium. I think it sucks. Ritual's okay. It's more like gambling to me. It kind of reminds me of like Diablo 2 with the gambling window, where you sit there and refresh the gambling window over and over again, and then gamble items and hope you get something good. But most of the time, you get nothing good. Like it feels like most of the time when you're doing ritual, you get nothing good, and then occasionally you get something amazing in there, which makes up for all the times that you got nothing good. Which is, yeah. Um, Once you've picked your specific mechanic that you want to get into, there are trees that you can build for those mechanics. So as you start getting into those mechanics and doing the boss fights and interacting with the stuff, you're going to be able to put points in, and you're going to be able to beef up those mechanics specifically in ways that are going to make them much better. Now, it's really important to note most of the mechanics suck balls without any points. I don't really know why GGG does this. It personally is not a good idea, in my opinion, because if you're trying to attract customers to an establishment, you don't start with your worst foot forward. Like, if you're like a cheese shop or like a donut shop or something, you don't put your moldy donuts out in the window, right? You put your really good donuts out in the window. But for some reason or another, GGG likes to lead with their worst foot forward and puts their moldy donuts out in the window. And so most of the time, these mechanics don't really work very well without points. The more points you get, the better the mechanics function. And each one of these points can do crazy things. Like for instance, they just added the expedition points just the other day, and you can do crazy things like increasing the number of logbooks. You can make it so that you get more explosives or remnants in your fights. You can change the biome that the expeditions will be considered as, which is huge because there's a lot of modifiers up here in the Atlas tree that will change like what you get for specific zones. So you can get, like more exalted orbs or like a bunch of other things. I need to change that to chaos, by the way. But in general, when it comes to like the game, the more you build into it, the better it's going to be. And so, like, if you want any of these mechanics to really give you good currency, then you need to build into them. Now, you might ask me a question like, which one is the best for currency? I'll be perfectly honest with you, any of them. If you build into and actually like get them set up, you can get currency in just about any of them, including Delirium, which I don't like, but you can still get really good currency in Delirium. There's a lot of really good stuff in there, like the emotions and whatnot that you can sell, isolation, fear, despair, like a whole bunch of crazy stuff in there. There's definitely good usefulness in all of them. Abyss is very good for crafting because there's a lot of very good crafting materials in Abyss. Expedition is very good in general for just about anything. You can get divs, you can get crafting mats. There's the alloys in there. There's the new runes. There's the skills. Tons of cool stuff. The Vaal Temple, even though I don't really like the Vaal Temple has Atziri, and Atziri drops a lot of really interesting items. She drops a lot of cool stuff. There's also some very good corruption stuff in here. The Breach, you can get the catalysts, and there's also the Womb Tree where you can actually generate items. There's a lot of good stuff you can get from Breach. Ritual is more designed around omens, and there's a lot of really powerful omens, like the omens of whittling, which are highly valuable. Just like there's omens of light in Abyss, which are highly valuable, right? In general, any of these can be viable if you want to build into them. Just play around with them for a little bit, figure out which one you like, and then just really push into it and get all the skill points and beef it up. Once you've decided on what you want to do, right? Once you've decided on the type of mechanic that you want to engage in, you also want to decide on which one of these guys you want access to. So there is Doryani, there is Hilda, and there is also Jato. And you have to do their respective quests to get access to their bonuses. Personally, I really like Doryani. Doryani comes with a lot of really good bonuses. Like, for instance, he has access to the maps are irradiated, which basically increases the monster level by 1, which you really want to do. He also has access to the maps have an additional revival, so you get 1 additional revival, which is really nice. Um, Actually, really, really good for like running hard maps that have 0 revivals, so you get 1 extra try on those really hard maps. To do these, like for instance with Doryani, you need to go and you need to actually find corrupted zones. So corrupted zones look like this. And once you defeat a corrupted nexus, that advances Doryani's by 1, and you have to do that 4 times total to completely fill out his panel. Hilda, she wants you to go hunt monsters, and Jato, I believe he wants you to go to specific haunted mansions and stuff, which are a little bit harder to do. But for the most part, when it comes to these guys, you get to choose one and you get to get buffs for them, and they're very, very useful as you are running through the game. My personal opinion, I really like Doryani the best. He has some very nice buffs like the Irradiated. He has the extra revivals. He also has this really nice one here, which is 10% chance when completing a map to make nearby maps accessible, which basically means you can like jump around better. And then he also has the terraforming thing, which is really cool. I was using that for a little while. It basically gives you like a chance to just cause like all the maps around to be terraformed into various like types. I've actually got a bunch of them so far. Like this is a forest zone. This one over here, I believe, is a mountain or swamp zone. And then I got like another one like over here in the distance, which is another forest. This one is desert. These are all generated essentially by Doryani's ability. Once you have your mechanic, like if you're going to do breach, and you've started the quest line, and once you've got your dude, next thing you're going to do is you're going to head into the castle. So the castle is essentially the GGG's way of introducing you into the world of endgame mapping. They have a lot of really fun maps in here, like maps that have tons of strong boxes, maps that have tons of exiles, maps that have tons of like Atziri spirits, and so forth and so on. Your goal is to clear as many of these as possible. You generally want to get these towers too because they're worth 4 points apiece, but every single map that you clear in here will give you 1 Atlas point. Atlas points are used on this thing, this big giant Atlas tree, which is going to give you, buff up your endgame mapping. You can beef up specific things that you want to beef up. In fact, I highly recommend that you choose something. Just the same way that you chose a mechanic over here, you want to choose a mechanic here as well. So you have things like the summoning circles, which spawn bosses. You have the essences, which are really good for crafting. You have the Atziri spirits, which suck balls. And then you have the shrines, which are great for having fun, like just running around really fast or having like crazy effects. And then the strong boxes, which are really good this season as well, which can give you like tons of currency and items and various things. And you can even do the exiles, which are basically like other players essentially set up as like PvE encounters or PvP encounters, but they're PvE encounters, not PvP, even though they kind of feel like PvP. And they drop all their items when they die, which is actually really cool, and you can get tons of like crazy loot from them as well. In general, when it comes to this atlas, you're basically just building what you want to do. Eventually, when you've completed the entire atlas, you will have everything filled in, so it doesn't matter. There are some specific ones on here I would highly recommend that you check out, though, like the exceptional items. There's a bunch of them on here that make it so that you can find exceptional items. These are important if you actually want to find these exceptional items. These are great items, by the way, because they come with like an extra socket, and they're kind of like superior items in Diablo 2. Another one that you definitely want to make sure you grab, or 2 that you make sure you grab, is the one that allows your tablets to have an additional modifier. There's 2 of them on here. I can't remember where the first one is. It's somewhere around here. But the second one is right here. Your tablets may be upgraded to rare and have 1 additional modifier. And then there's another one. Your tablets may be upgraded to rare and have 1 maximum modifier. So if you want to be able to upgrade your tablets, which are these things, tablets to a rare tablet, you have to be able to get those 2 passives. The first one will allow you to make them rare for 3 mods, and the second one will allow you to make them rare with 4 mods. These are actually really, really potent to essentially your journey through mapping. So with the tablets, you can focus what you would like to do. Irradiated tablets will increase the level of the maps by 1 and will add just more generic modifiers like rogue exiles and summoning circles. These are considered like minor things within the maps. Then there are the major tablets. So your major tablets are going to be specific types of encounters, right? You can get Abyss tablets, which will specifically bring you Abyss encounters. You can do Breach, you can do Overseers, which are basically boss tablets, Ritual tablets, there's Delirium tablets, Atziri tablets, and so forth and so on. Now, why would you use these? Well, the reason why you use these is because you want to encounter that specific mechanic that you're interested in. If you use these in a map, you can get as many of these encounters as you want. Now, what are maps? Maps basically scale from tier 1, so we have a tier 1 map, all the way to tier 16, which I don't have a tier 16 map on here real quick, but you can craft them essentially. And what is the difference between a tier 1 map and a tier 16 map? Well, the difference between a tier 1 and a tier 16 map is just level. So a tier 1 map is like 65-ish, I think, and a tier 15 map is level, I think it's 79. And if you have an irradiated tablet in there specifically, you can bring it up to 80. And it's just level. It's no different than like the difference between like Bloodmoor, which is like a level 60 some odd zone in Diablo 2, and Chaos Sanctuary, which is a level 85 zone, right? These are basically just determining the level of the zone that you're going to be entering, and a level 80 zone with like a 15 with an irradiated tablet, or a 16 with an irradiated tablet, which would be 81, is essentially the highest level zone in the game. So if 85 is the highest level zone in Diablo 2, 81 is the highest level zone in Diablo, or in Path of Exile 2. Right? So you use the maps, and the maps have different qualities, right? They have white, they have blue, and we have rare. Now, the number of revives is listed at the top. See, it says revives available 5. When you turn it into a blue tablet and you add 2 modifiers to the tablet, so specifically 2 modifiers, it goes down to 4 revives. When you add 2 more modifiers to 4 modifiers total, it goes down to 2 revives. And when you add 2 more modifiers onto that to a maximum of 6 modifiers, it becomes 0 revives. You can also potentially corrupt it, trying to get something higher. Corrupting it can give you a chance of getting a higher map than that. So you can get a tier 16, which is the highest map you can get. Now, when you're looking at the map, you're going to be traveling toward a specific destination. That's the whole goal, right? In this particular case, once you've determined your type of major content that you're going to do, you got your Doryani set up, and you start heading into your castle. Your goal is to get Atlas points, fill out your Atlas tree, do the towers to get even more Atlas points, and eventually you're going to head to these places right here. The Western Enigma Chamber and the Eastern Enigma Chamber, and you're going to want to clear both of these. The goal of clearing these is to get the boss stones, essentially, that go to the Burning Monolith and allow you to fight the Arbiter of Ash, which is your main goal in the castle. Now, I'm going to show you what it looks like when you put a map in real quick so you can understand how this functions, right? So when you put a map in that's only a white map, these will not unlock. You cannot unlock these unless you have access to a higher tier than a white map. If you put in a blue map that has 2 modifiers, it will give you at least 1 tablet slot that you can put in, so you can get at least 1 tablet. If you put in a rare map that has 4 modifiers, you can get access to 2 tablets. And then if you put in a 0 revive map, you can get access to 3 tablets. So what about the 4th tablet? The 4th tablet is only available if you are accessing a city map specifically. So it has to actually have the city biome tag. As you can clearly see, this is a city area because there's buildings all over the place and there's a castle in the center. So if I click here, you can see that I have access to the 4th tablet slot in the city. This is actually pretty good because this is a massive amount of stuff that you can add to the map. Now, how does the mapping work specifically in regards to the tablets? So think about the tablets like slots in the map for mechanics that you are interested in doing, right? If you're interested in doing breach and you put a breach tablet in, it will consume one of those slots and give you breach specific things. If you put in only breach tablets, you will not get anything else but breach. It will override all other mechanics, and you will not get any randomized mechanics whatsoever. You will just get breach. You can also mix and match. You could have, say, like a breach, an abyss. You could put like a ritual, and then you could put like a boss tablet, and you could have like 4 different types and have 4 different mechanics going at the same time. If you do this, you're going to have more randomized stuff because you're basically controlling it, but it's going to be, like a breach and abyss. Like you don't know whether the abyss is going to be on top of the breach and so forth and so on. These are actually really cool because by allowing you to control the map types like this, you can essentially do the content that you're interested in. I talk crap all the time about some of the content in the game. Like, for instance, I really don't like Delirium. Well, I don't have to do Delirium. If I don't want to do Delirium, I can just not put any Delirium tablets in my maps. And if there is Delirium in a map and I fill all of the tablet slots with other things other than Delirium, I can push the Delirium out of my map and never have to deal with it again. So as you play the game and you interact with all the different mechanics and you understand how they work, you can definitely have fun with it. Now, once you've collected your crisis fragments from the Western Enigma and the Eastern Enigma Chamber, and you fight the Arbiter of Ash, you get access to the center here, which is the Origin Tower. In here, your goal is to fight the Patriarch Halls and the Matriarch Halls, which is going to give you 2 more items, the Origin Spark and the Origin Cradle, which you're going to use to fight the boss at the top. The Origin, I think his name is Arbiter of Divinity. Once you fight the Arbiter of Divinity, you're given the option to clear out an entire zone and claim the points from those zones, which is going to give you a huge amount of points to your Atlas tree. If you fight the boss a certain number of times, you can pretty much get all of your Atlas points just by fighting the boss over and over again. Only thing is to fight the boss again, you need to get access to more of the boss materials, which come from places like this, which I've already cleared. So you can see we have another Patriarch Hall off in the distance. Now, a lot of the times these little things off in the distance will show up on the map, even in the darkness, like this, like a light in the darkness, so it could tell you like where you're heading to. Also, be on the lookout for a lot of really fun maps. There's some crazy maps that you'll find on the thing. Like, for instance, there's a Headhunter map, which will give you a rare modifier from any rare monster that you kill. There's unique maps, like the Ezomite maps that are basically just like boss rushes, where you go fight like 6 or 7 bosses in a row, which is really cool. There's Castaway, which I've actually already done my Castaway over here. But there was a Castaway, like, right here somewhere. I think I've already beaten it. But the Castaway is a map that gives you lots of gold. There's also Untainted Paradises, which are unique maps that give you some crazy bonuses on EXP. There's modifiers that you'll find all over the place. Like this one has a bunch of rogue exiles in it, and they always appear in pairs. And keeping your eyes out for those special modifiers, you can potentially get like some crazy stuff going on looking around the maps. There's even like the things that happen in the corrupted zones, like when you clear a corrupted zone, it turns into a uncorrupted zone. This is a cleansed zone, and cleansed zone have special modifiers as well that you could potentially look for. Like this one right here says that it contains an Immured Fury, which is essentially a guaranteed fracturing orb, which is really good because fracturing orbs are super expensive. I don't know what they're going for right this second, but we can take a look. So Exalt's fracturing orb, they're currently going for 2,390, which is kind of nutty. So if we were to go into this particular map, as an example, the one that has the Immured Fury on it, we don't have to risk anything. Let's just go in with a basic white T15, and let's just go kill the Immured Fury and get our free fracturing orb. The entire mapping system has so much potential to it because you have multiple quest lines. You can do all the quest lines, but you don't have to. There's currently basically, what is it, 5 or 6 different quest lines going on in the mapping zone. There's the actual quest line for the Arbiter of Divinity, right? Arbiter of Ash and the Arbiter of Divinity, which you want to kill. There is the quest lines for Breach. There's the quest lines for the Delirium. There's a quest line for Abyss. There's a quest line for Expedition. There's a quest line for the Ritual. There's tons of fun things to do in the quests. Like it's a really good system, and I think this season specifically, the end game has become more and more fun than previously before. Like I think the end game was definitely lacking in previous seasons, and the campaign was definitely the better part of the game as far as things go. But now I'm not so sure. I feel like the end game has definitely come up quite a lot now, and I'm very impressed. Let's see if we can find our Mirrored Fury real quick and get our free Fracturing Orb. Whenever you complete any cleansed area or corrupted area, make sure you check for the Mirrored Furies, because the Mirrored Furies are really good. In fact, you can actually do searching for specific things on the map. If you're trying to find something like the Mirrored Fury, you can definitely search around and see if you can look for it. I'll show you. They added it recently. It was actually this patch where they added a search function on the map, and it allows you to get in there and look for specific things that you're trying to go for. Let me head back to town for just a second here so I can show you this. This is a breach right here. Breaches are really cool this season. You can actually stabilize the breaches if you do it properly. Let me show you the breach. Breaches basically is a whole bunch of monsters that are in another dimension, and as you tackle the breach, the other dimension monsters essentially come out and try to kill you. If you kill enough of the otherworldly dimension monsters in a specific time period, you can stabilize the breach, which can cause more monsters to come out, of course, that you want to kill because you're trying to exterminate them. And you can even have one of the bosses pop up. I think Zesht will come out, I think, sometimes, depending on what's going on. I've actually had a lot of fun with Breach this season. Not only is the actual mechanic fun, the boss is fun, the individual fights are fun, the womb gif crafting is fun. I think they've hit a home run with the Breach stuff this season. Definitely was not my favorite before, though, if I'm being perfectly honest. I wasn't really super into Breach before, but now, I'm digging it. And now we got our unstable breaches collapsed, and we're going to get all of our loot. As you can see, we got some womb gifts to use on the tree, a bunch of gold. I've actually gotten some pretty good drops from this, but you don't always get, the most amazing drops, right? Oh, we got a breach tablet. So, breach tablets are good to look out for, so that you can farm more breaches. Put the breach tablets in, get more breaches, etc., etc. Of course, you don't have to put anything in to get a breach. It can just happen randomly, right? So let's take a look at that search function real quick before we find our Mirrored Fury. So, let's say you cleared a corruption zone and you're trying to figure out whether you have a Mirrored Fury, right? Well, you can do a search. You can type in Fury up here at the top, and you can look to see if you have any Fury maps, available. Obviously, they're going to be in the corruption zones, but, here we go right here. So there's one that I missed. Area contains a Mirrored Fury. So right there. So it's in the actual tower. I guess that's why I didn't see it. And searching for this, you can basically look around the map and find the stuff that you're interested in. Like if you want to find, say, something to do with exiles, you can just type in the word exile, and you can look around to try and find anything to do with exile. So there's one right there with the rogue exiles that we saw earlier. Here's another one right here with contains 2 additional rogue exiles and 5 additional rare beasts. Or you could type in something like, maybe you're interested in only forest maps. So you want maps that are forest zones. Well, there's a bunch of forest zones right here. So we've got forest zone, and so forth and so on. So as you can see, I already found a Mirrored Fury that I didn't know existed. Right? Just by using the search function and trying to find the specific things that I'm looking for. And let's see if we can find the Mirrored Fury. The Mirrored Fury is always hiding on the map. He's usually in the ground, actually, if I remember correctly. And then he like pops out and he's like, ha ha ha, I am the Amir Fairy, look at me. Yeah, there he is. He just popped out of the ground, see? I told you, he just pops out of the ground. And guaranteed fracturing orb, gimme, gimme. Chainmail, give my fracturing orb. Now, when you're in the map, you can do the mechanics that are in the map. This is something that's important to talk about. There's tons of different mechanics in the map, but you only really have usually 1 or 2 goals as far as what you're supposed to do in the map to clear it. So if you're trying to progress to something specifically, and you don't really want to stop and do like every single mechanic in a map, you don't have to. If you take a look on the top right-hand corner while you're in the map, you can see that it says defeat Kadron the Hyena Lord. So I don't have to do anything else other than kill him. I can do these things right here, which are pretty cool. I actually really like doing these expedition stuffs. What do we got here? Great Ghost Arena. These are both good. Neither one of these are bad. Let's grab that one. And then we just kill the boss. Once we kill the boss, we've completed the map, essentially, and you can either continue from that point and to do other things within the map or not. Now, there is a kind of like a handy-dandy little guide on the right-hand side underneath of where it says defeat Kadron the Hyena Lord, which shows you kind of what's on the map. My advice to you is to not rely on this overly too much because it doesn't actually tell you everything that's on the map. If you discover something, it will tell you about the thing that you've discovered. But a lot of the times it will leave certain things out unless you've actually discovered them. So like as you run around, you'll notice that it will kind of fill in with various things that are on the map at that particular time period. So like running around, you might encounter something specific. And when you encounter something specific, it'll get added to the list, essentially. Strong boxes are another type of mechanic that you can engage in when it comes to the thing. They do require a little bit of investment, but in my personal opinion, I think they're worth it most of the time. Usually what I do with them is I hit them with an alchemy orb. Alchemy is the cheapest way to go. And then you're going to... Bink! And then you're going to hit them with exalts usually to beef them up so that you can get the maximum effectiveness out of them. And then when you click on them, you get a bunch of monsters, you kill them. This is one of the exiles right here. This is an actual player, essentially, in the game that's like a PvP player. They usually have uniques on that you can get if you kill them. And on top of that, they'll drop basically every single piece of equipment that they have on. They're pretty fun to fight a lot of the times. You'll find spellcaster versions, shield versions. You'll find all sorts of different versions that will try and challenge you using different skills and different abilities. There's even a new feature this season where you can, like, basically tell them to get good, and you send them off on their way. Like, go get better, and I'll fight you later. Sort of a situation. As you can see, he dropped everything that he had on. He dropped the vectors. He dropped the makeshift crossbow. He was apparently holding a guardian spear for some reason. I don't know why he had a spear on as a bow character, but whatever. Maybe he was using a swap. And he had a golden mail. I mean, a lot of the times I love to go through their equipment and just make fun of, like, the gear that they're wearing and be like, why is your gear so bad? Oh my god, that's amazing, though. He's got a freaking T2 Fizz mod and a T2 Fizz flat mod on there. Wow, that's pretty good. That's a 319. I can't even make fun of his spear. No wonder he was wearing that thing. His amulet is horrible. His ring is pretty bad too. Let's take a look at his other ring. Is also garbage. His belt was poopy doopy doos. That is the worst belt I've ever seen. His gloves suck balls. His helmet is really bad also. Yeah, so like most of his gear was trash. He did have a halfway decent spear, which could potentially be crafted on. His armor, also pretty poopy. Like, overall, just not really the best equipment. And that's kind of the case, like a lot of the times with the exiles, is they just don't have really good gear on. But it's still fun to go through all their gear and laugh at the equipment that they have. Um, it's just one more mechanic that you can engage in the maps. And as you can see, the exile wasn't up there earlier. So when I showed you guys this panel earlier, and I was talking about that not everything is up there, right? The exile was not up there because I hadn't discovered him yet. So don't rely specifically on this. Ooh, white heavy belt. Don't rely specifically on this because it's not going to tell you the whole truth and nothing but the truth, right? Now, if you don't want to do all the mechanics in the thing, like say you just don't want to do them, you can just skip, right? So we can just go right to the boss. Another interesting thing is these ritual altars will basically give you a chance of getting any monster that you have in the ritual. So anything that you kill in the ritual circle has a chance to come back the next time you open a ritual circle, including bosses, exiles, like all sorts of various things. So if you're doing rituals, you want to make sure that you're killing as many things in the ritual circle as possible, because it not only increases the amount of points that you get for your rituals, but it also gives you more, in general, like for your character. Let's go ahead and end this map real quick. So we're going to end this one prematurely. Now, when you kill the boss, it doesn't just immediately end the map, but if you die while you're trying to kill the boss, that can potentially ruin your fun, right? The boss is usually the orange checkpoint. I believe it should be right over here. This map's pretty predictable, actually. Here's one of the essences, by the way. Essences are pretty simple things. They're usually a monster that's kind of like frozen in stone. You can beef up the essence by adding more things to it. In fact, let me go ahead and grab that real quick because it's super easy to do. There's a modifier on the thing where you can actually put exalts on them, and you can also corrupt them as well. So you can exalt them. And let me shove some of this stuff in here real quick. I won't get to this stuff later. And I need some corruption. Vaal orbs, because I am currently out on this character.
All right, your order is registered.
All right. So when you have these things, they basically have powers dependent on the modifier that's at the top, which is essentially the crafted mod that you're going to get. You can exalt them to add another one, and then you can also corrupt them, which can have an unpredictable effect. And then it basically just spawns a monster with all those buffs. When you kill them, you get the crafted mods that you can potentially use on your equipment. These things are highly useful, and collecting large numbers of them can help you craft very good pieces of equipment with rather deterministic modifiers. Like, for instance, this one adds 104 maximum mana to jewelry, or this one adds 7 to 10% increased strength, dex, or intelligence when used on an amulet, and so forth and so on. And the boss should be right up here. If you die doing the boss, this is kind of important, it will clear the entire map. It is something, even if you have multiple attempts, if you have things that you haven't done on the map, like ritual altars or strong boxes that you haven't completed, or remnants that you haven't done, or monsters that you haven't killed, if you die during the boss fight, you can't redo any of that stuff. So sometimes if you're afraid you're going to die during the boss fight, it's better to just clear the map first and then go do the boss. It will give you a better chance of getting everything done. And as you can see, the bosses aren't like too terribly difficult. This character's kind of juiced, but I'm going to go ahead and like hit him a 1 and give him a 2. We're going to hit him with a parry and then juice him like that. Yep. This is my beautiful parry character. I love this guy. Hit me. Hit me, baby. Oh, no. That's a big hit. Parry. Boom. And then we're finished with our map. See, it says map completed specifically. So upon completing the map, of course, now you have access to essentially any other map within range. It works very linearly. So, like, if you look at the map, you do get access to anything around that place that you just cleared. But at the same time, you also, if you're running Doryani, you have a 10% chance to just get like a bunch of other maps nearby accessible as well. Green ones, of course, are ones that you've completed. Blue ones are ones that have yet to be completed. And, like there's tons of ones. The ones that are grayed out like this can't be accessed yet. You still need to make, toward them. In this particular case, you can see it has a little like star down at the bottom. That's indicating that you get +1 abyss point if you clear that map. There's a lot of these all over the place, so like you can get breach points for completing the breach maps, you can get delirium points for completing the delirium maps, you can get ritual points for completing the ritual maps, and so forth and so on, which help you beef up all the stuff. There's a lot of fun stuff to do in the end game, whether you want to make currency, just for like you just want to be a trader, or maybe you want to craft. There's tons of fun crafting stuff to do. There's tons of mechanics that you can engage in. You can really dive into the abyss. You can dive into the breach. You can dive into the expedition stuff, which is really cool, which is actually uses logbooks. The ritual can be really cool too, and really rewarding. In fact, all of them can be extremely rewarding. I've had a lot of fun this season, especially even just hunting down like the citadels. So the citadels are the boss mats that you need to fight the Arbiter of Ash, and the other ones, like the Matriarch and Patriarch halls, are the ones to fight the Divinity. And you can make currency just farming those. Just like the materials that you need
No room.
to fight the bosses can be very expensive and very profitable to farm. To give you an example, one of the things that you need to fight the Arbiter of Ash or the Arbiter of Divinity can be many exalts worth. So just hunting those down specifically can be worth your time. Like the Origin Spark. Or the Origin Cradle. The Origin Cradle, I believe, is currently like 870 exalts. And if you were to look up some of the fragments, so if you look up the like Weathered Crisis Fragment, the Ancient Crisis Fragment, that was 350 for that one. Some of them are worth more than others. The Faded one is 2,200 for some reason. I don't know why. That one's nuts. And so forth and so on. So like when you're looking at some of this stuff and you're thinking about like how you can make money, well, there's ways to make money across the map and gear out your characters tremendously. Of course, there's also trade. You can trade in Endgame utilizing the trade system. So Angie has access to a shop that you can set up where you can basically post items for specific prices. And as you're running through the game and you're trying to find things, or you find really good things, like, I just found this Obliterator bow. Could be amazing. It's a tier 4 unidentified Obliterator bow. Let's check it out. Well, we got +3. Not terrible. A T4 fire mod, not the most greatest. A quiver is meh. And then we got our Alpha Talisman. Oh, not bad. We got a T1 elemental damage with attacks. That's not terrible. Could be something to craft on later. I usually hang on to this stuff and craft on it in like one big pack, going through like all my items and crafting on them together. We got a prismatic ring too. That horrible T8 lightning resistance on there and accuracy. Ugh, that's disgusting. Let me go through some of the essences for crafting with you as well. So when you're talking about endgame and collecting things, these are some of the essences that you can get. Like the greater essences can be used to take a magic item to a rare item, and they can add things like resistances, life, damage, all sorts of crazy stuff. These are actually really good to hang on to for crafting purposes, especially if you're trying to like make a specific item the way that you want it to. Granted, you can only have one crafted mod, but these can definitely help get you on your way. Perfect essences can be used to remove a random modifier from a rare item and add a new guaranteed modifier, like percent life, armor evasion, like gain as fire, gain as cold damage, so forth and so on. You can get all sorts of really good stuff, including plus the skills, which is actually really nice for a lot of builds. Like if you're using a specific weapon and you want like plus attacks, that's really strong. Overall, Endgame, I think, has increased and become much more fun than in previous seasons. And, it's definitely worth giving it a try this season. I feel like if you petered out at the Endgame previously, like if there were many times you gave Path of Exile 2 a try and you just got to the Endgame and didn't feel like you knew what you were doing or understood how to get the most out of Endgame, I feel like this is the season to really give it a push and see if you can make the most out of it. Trying to think if there's anything I left out. There are these little mansions that you can clear out that are pretty cool. This is actually part of Jato's stuff. So you can get some really valuable lineages from these, and the lineage gems can go for many, 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 many divines worth of currency. Um, those are actually all over the place. The towers, of course, light up the map, making it much easier to see things. So targeting the towers helps out a lot for visibility. Um, Obviously, there is a pre-designed part of the map, right? So this part of the map that we're in right now with the castle is pre-designed by the developers, and it's the same for everybody. But as you venture outward into the dark, into the deep unknown, it is randomly generated. So it will start to get into a design that is different from what everyone else is seeing. And that's pretty much it. There's other stuff that you can do, like the Reliquary Vault, where you get reliquary keys and you can get random uniques. Um, there is also very interesting unique maps too. I didn't even talk about the Fractured Lake, which gives you like base types, which have one less suffix or one more prefix, which are really cool. There's also like stuff like this, like the Haunted Mansions. That's another one of the Haunted Mansions right there, I'm pretty sure. Um, there's so many cool things. There really is a really large number of really interesting mechanics throughout that to explore and like uncover. Like I would recommend that you get like every one of the unique maps under your belt. Like do one of every one of the unique maps. Like play around with all the mechanics and find out which ones you like. Try out each one of the ascendancy masters, like the endgame map masters, like Doryani, Jato, and Hilda. They all have very interesting mods. Fight all the bosses. Do all the citadels, do the Arbiter of Ash, do the Arbiter of Divinity. Like fight all the individual bosses. There's so much cool stuff that you can do. There's even a challenge panel that goes through the process of giving you like a list of kind of like the challenges to do for that particular season. Um, and kind of gives you an idea of all the fun things that you could potentially do. But even this doesn't really cover everything. It really doesn't. As always, appreciate you guys all watching. Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe button if you enjoy the content. I'm trying to get more Path of Exile 2 content out. I already have so much Diablo 2 content, but I have some more ideas for Diablo 2 content as well. And then, of course, we also have the upcoming No Rest for the Wicked launch, which I think is like sometime in July or something. We still haven't heard any more news on the Darkhaven project from the original Diablo 2 developers. So that's currently in silence mode because they're working hard trying to get updates out. As always, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe button, and keep watching.